Hello,
Hi,
can you guys hear me?
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you all.
Okay, then without further ado, I think we can start our session with our guest lecturer, Mr. Ananto. Please, the screen is yours.
All right. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for the Tell You Coffee, the alumni endowment for inviting me about to sharing experience. So today, I want to share with you basically what I've been experiencing throughout the work across from the beginning before Gojek side, after the Gojek side, but specifically for today, I will share about more on Gojek side because it's like a recent work that I've been doing. So the title is quite fancy, so it's a kind of clickbait, so you guys will attend. So basically, in short terms, I want to share about how we can enable technology to the current business process, especially in customer service area, to achieve efficiency and the scalability. So yeah, and also by doing this in a big multinational company, since Gojek is also available in Singapore and Vietnam. And let's just start. Yeah, I think Gia has been introducing me, so I will introduce myself also. Hi everyone, my name is Aran Takbar, or you can call me Aan. I've been studying informatics engineering in 2007. So right now I'm a senior PM at Gojek, handling customer service related products. And also I've been 10 years experience in handling similar things in previous Gojek era also. So yeah, this is customer service area with the product and engineering is already uh, what is it? You call it like the best experience that I can have until today. So that's why I'm excited to share what uh, I experience to you, all of you. And this is the agenda, only 5 key agendas here. So the first one, I want to share about the challenge in customer service area or business. And the second agenda, basically how we enable the technology to the customer service business. And the point number 3 about the result and takeaways that we can have after those use cases. And then there is one more thing I will share later, and then we can go to the Q&A. All right, before we start, I want to explain about the Gojek itself. So if everyone of you doesn't know about Gojek, and maybe use the competitors, so hopefully you will know best after I'm explaining. Basically, this is South Asia leading on-demand platform right now, and the pioneer of multi-service ecosystem model. What is it about? Is basically Gojek previously was become a super app. So you can do anything within one app. But right now it's kind of shifting into like a different kind of business model. And this is the journey from the beginning of 2010. As you can see, basically Gojek in the beginning is call center. So it's already customer service in the first place. Why? Because if you remember, or maybe back then only in Jakarta, whenever you want to get ojek, but using Gojek, you need to call the call center, and the call center will assign you a driver nearby. So it's very manual, very basic. But because there's no app back then, it's not popular like today. Therefore, it's very manual. Now in 2015, Gojek has launched app and with some product and services provided directly. And then until today, we have joined forces with Tokopedia, and just last year we got IPO, and then now we want to extend the service and product to all business. So in GoTo, we already have like on demand, we have e-commerce, we have financial related, so everything is under one big company now. All right, now let's move to the main topic. I want to share about the challenge we have in customer service related business. I want to explain about the ticket first. This is like the main data or main object that we use every day in customer service. Ticket is basically like a support ticket. When you need help, you create a ticket, and then it should be resolved by the business via the customer service unit. What I can say here at Gojek, it's kind of specific because the ticket itself can be divided into 3 types of users. We have our customer, like the riders, basically, and we have the driver, our partner, and then we have a merchant also. So if you buy order GoFood, you are contacting the driver, contacting the merchant also. So there are 3 type of user with different kind of inquiry or grievance, I can say, because ticket doesn't mean about complaint. It can be also like not salutation. I mean like a suggestion, inquiry, or just asking. So it's not about complaint. And then this is how customer service ticket flow, yeah. How we are handling the ticket. Basically, if you are having issue or having a question related to Gojek products today, you will be able to raise a ticket through various channel that we have. There is a call, there is an in-app help center, there is email, social media, and then chat. So there are various channel. Basically, it will leads you to our system before we share it to our customer service agent. So this is where the magic happens, I can say. We are capturing all of the data, the support ticket data from the customer before even reaching out to the agent to be handled. And agent will be using the portal. We can call it agent portal here. How they are handling the ticket in day-to-day basis. So this is the basic support ticket creation and handling. Now, why this will be important, because as you know, so many tickets coming in every day, every month, and the customer service agent is limited. So it's only like, for example, we have 500 agents, for example. And as you know, the Gojek's growth is like exponential back then, but right now it's still increasing year by year. So assuming Gojek is still doing the growth in the 20% per year, and then let's say just make 1% defect of that transaction. Basically, the defect means if the company has a completed transaction like 100 transaction, for example, 1% defect rate means one of it will have a defect and create a ticket to us, to customer service. So if that happens, in the 3 years, the ticket volume will be doubled. And we don't want our team or customer service is growing bigger and bigger, and it's more expensive to pay, right? It's not scalable as a business also. So this is just illustration, but if you use the basic number, you will get like 2 times of the ticket volume only in the next 3 years if you are growing your business. Now, if I can combine all the challenges that we have, this is the oversimplified version. If you see on the left side, this is the main common problems that we have in customer service business. I divided into 2, the business problem and the customer problem. The business problem, usually they receive a high volume of the ticket. Basically, the one that I mentioned earlier, right? Customer ticket is increasing because the growth is increasing also. And then there are customer also complaining the same thing. I don't know if because the system issue or the handling issue, it can be anything, right? And also maybe agent handling it improperly, so there will be a defect. Therefore, this has become a business problem, how to solve something like this in everyday basis. And you can see this similar problem in other companies in customer service line. And the second part is about the customer problem. So usually if you are a customer, you need help, right? And you want to get your ticket resolved. What you want to do is you get the assurance first, right? I mean, like, hey, the ticket is being handled. Please be patient. Okay, that's fine. And the second one, probably you will complain about this is too long to resolve my issue or ticket, right? And even worse, maybe the problem is not solved at all. So I mean, if you are complaining and you didn't get what you want or expected, then it will become a problem and leads to this business problem, repeated tickets and stuff. Now, looking at these problems, right? What we can have here, how do we ideas of helping the customer service to survive in the business? So basically, I can divide it into 4 types of improvements. The first one, self-service. Basically, how we can let our users helping themselves, so they don't need to create a ticket to us. And the second one, if they need to create a ticket to us, how do we automate that ticket so it doesn't go to our agents? And then let's say, oh, okay, this issue is difficult and it's agent or human intervention. Then how do we help them, our agents, to have the easiest way to handle the ticket without being, I mean, like a difficulty? And then the last but not least, how if we can prevent the ticket creation in the first place? So we need to fix at the root cause level by improving our product itself. And then how do we measure success, right? We have success metrics divided into quality and efficiency. So in the quality, if you know about CSAT, right, this is like a customer satisfaction survey. If you are being asked probably after you're being completed the go right order, you will be asked to rate the driver, right? Is it 5-star, 4-star, 2 stars? So something like that. In this case, in customer service business, after they handle the ticket, resolve it for you, they will ask how is our service, and you will be the person that can judge is it a good service or bad service. So this is like the ultimate or North Star metrics for customer service business. And the second metrics is about defect rate. How do we reduce the defect? This is related to defect handling. How many agents that still handling it poorly? How can we improve it? And how can we reduce their defect so they can handle it properly? And then on the self-service side, how do we increase the self-service score and ticket is deflected to be created in the first place? Now moving on to the efficiency. What we need to do is basically reducing the interaction, the back and forth communication. So if you are complaining, creating tickets, you want to be able to be resolved at that time if possible. So no need to like waiting, communicate back and stuff. And then how to reduce the resolution time. Even though the interaction is reduced, we want to also the reduce resolution time. Meaning if the ticket can be resolved ASAP, then it's better, right? And then how do we automate the ticket so that it doesn't need to go to our agent at all? So this kind of metrics that may be our North Star to measure if it's success or not, the improvement that we did. Okay, now that's the challenge. I already explained about the common problems, area of improvements, and how do we measure the success. Now, let's see how what we are doing until today in Gojek by enabling the technology to the customer service business. There are 5 steps I already explained earlier actually. So basically, in the first place, if you get the data, you get the ticket, you need to identify what is it about. That's the basic. Basically, we need people, we need a human that analyze and identify what is it about. Let's say you are having issue with your GoFood order, you didn't get the item, or maybe when you're taking a go ride, the driver doesn't come to you at all and completed the order. So something like that. So we want to know if it's a delivery issue or driver issue or anything. And then this is the main part that we want to share. Basically, if the ticket is identified, and how do we deflect it? This is the self-service that I mentioned. And then if it still needs to be created a ticket, how do we automate it? And then if it comes to the agent, how do we ensure our agent can handle it properly and better? And as an evaluation, how do we prevent it in the future? So by having all of the data that we have. All right. Now the first part, how do we identify? I can divide it into 4 categories here. The first one, usually, if you're creating a support ticket, right, to any business, basically, either you have a defect in the product that you use, or it can be like problem with the partner, or for example, in Gojek is driver or merchant, or even you have unclear information and in using the product itself in our service. And also we have the spam or non-issue. It can be like question or even just spamming the customer service. So it can be divided into like 4 groups here. And usually this is common in any businesses. And basically what I want to highlight is the categorization of the ticket is a key, because it will help us in improving the business in later on. Okay, so this is the main approach after the identifying. There are 3 steps, right, in the middle. Let's say inquiries, when you need help, you are discovering something in the app or website, right? You are seeking for help, seeking for articles, to get the answer. And if we provide the complete self-help articles, for example, in website or app, it can be it can lead to the customer will not create a ticket because their question has been answered in the first place. Or even if the articles cannot help them, probably we can provide a chatbot, right, in the website or the product or app. If we provide chatbot, they will be guided with the question that they have. If possible, the customer is being helped after this 2 things that we tried. It can deflect the ticket creation. What if the ticket is still needs to be created, right? So comes to the second main approach, second step. We will try to automate it if possible. How do we automate? So basically, we identify the pattern. If it's a repetitive tickets, right? Let's say you are asking about, hey, is Gojek available in Bandung? That kind of ticket doesn't need to go to agent, right? Even in articles, it can be solved directly. But let's say something like that, and this answer is clear already, the step is already clear to handle it, we can automate it by the system. And even better, we use the historical data, the historical ticket data, and put it in our machine learning so that it can help to auto categorize the ticket before automating or move it to the agent backlog. And then let's say if system cannot do it, right, cannot handle it. Therefore, we need to handle it by using our agent. And in this case, what we want to do is how we can make our agent is easier when handling ticket and handle it properly so that it will give the best customer experience for the user that is require help. So we can do either make easier of their portal or agent portal that I mentioned earlier, or even when the tickets coming to them, we already provided all information required by them to answer. So it will help them to handle it faster and better. Last but not least, about the prevention. After all of this happen, and we expect the customer to be satisfied, we will check from the data how the ticket is being created, how it's handled, and how do we prevent it in the future. And basically, this will be the idea for other teams that handle the key product to improve their service or product, or maybe building a new feature or fixing their current core feature, for example. And then by having this funnel, right? As you can see, any new request, let's say we have 100% of requests, 10% can be deflected. And if it's still creating a ticket, 40% of it will be automated. So at the end, we can have the same agent to handle a big volume of the ticket. So this is how the efficiency will be working. And this is about the origin of help center. This is how we can deflect the ticket. So if you remember, or earlier user of the Gojek, basically this is our help page in the app. So you will be provided with categories of the service that we've provided. And then when you choose any of it, basically you need to submit the free text box and provide the button to call the call center. That's it. So any category you will be leads to the free text box that you can write anything, right? So why we are doing this? Because we don't have the pattern, right? We don't have what is the user problem? We don't know yet at that time. Therefore, what we want to do, capture as many as data as possible, and then learn from it later on. Now, and then the help page is improved. So like it's the second phase of the help page in the app. If you also remember, basically we don't want to make bigger changes for the user. So the category is still the same using the product and services. But when they click on it, we will categorize it with the articles and self-help articles, basically. How we are doing this, because we already know, right, the data that provided earlier, then we learn from it and create the simplest way for them to doing the self-help. So this is the very basic help page article that you can see like commonly in the website or app. And then today, we already learned from it again. What we are doing is basically how do we make a dynamic articles based on the criteria or condition at that time with the user. For example, if you already completed the order, we can just provide you, is there a problem with your order? So you don't need to deep dive to the specific articles and find the relevant page to create a ticket. No. So we already provide you with the shortcut. And also, we are enabling the chatbot. So this is how you are being guided to get the answer before it reaches to the agent. So this is what we are doing in the deflection phase, yeah. And now, if the ticket is still created, right, what we are going to do about it? So there is a unique use case at Gojek back then, where customer is always asking about their, the invoice, not invoice, the receipt. So they are using Gojek for some times. There are multiple orders, and they want to get the list of the history order receipt. Basically, they are doing it because they want to do the reimbursement to the company, or they want to just recap what is for personal notes, financial notes. But in the simple request, actually it's being handled very difficult back then, because our agent will require to request to data team to do the query of the historical order based on this particular user. And then after they get the data, it takes time also. They need to compile it into like documents and PDF and then send it back to the user manually. And this has become like top 5 tickets at the time. So agent is always doing that every day, the same thing, same steps. And then that's why the SLA service level that they had right now is 2 days, basically, just to answer, this is your historical order in Gojek. And yeah, this is like consuming the manpower, right? I mean, the agent doesn't need to do that. It can be done by system. And what we can do, they can handle it, the more important use case. Like, for example, accident, harassment, something like that. And then after the automation, what we did is learning from the pattern what agent is doing. Basically, we just create a help page, articles. When the user is submitting the form, there'll be the system will compile everything for them and send the PDF directly to the email. And then as a user, you can just directly instant recap of your historical order by yourself. And even better today, I think you can do it one by one, even per order. And you can try this out right now also. So when you get the reply, it's not an agent, but it's our system directly. So the automation is not like setting up auto reply and done, but also doing the complex things behind it and provide it to the user directly. So from 2 days into a seconds, that's the big impact. And also agent doesn't need to handle it. And then if we cannot automate, what do we do? Basically, this is the agent portal in Gojek. So on the left side, if you can see back then, agent is being provided with many tools. So they open multiple tabs in their Chrome browser. And then also they always have the, what is it? We call it knowledge base as a guidance for them how to handle a ticket. For example, how to handle if the driver is not delivering your food. There's a step standard to answer this kind of question. So they need to check one by one and stuff. There's very manual using Google Sheet, and when there's a 200 agents open the Google Sheet at the same time, it's become slower. So it's a very painful process. And then what we did is basically, how do we provide everything in their portal, basically. So they don't need to open multiple tools, multiple tabs. What we do, their main ticket portal is still open, but we still have separate knowledge. But this is much better than the previous one using Google Sheet. So we already categorize it properly. It can be searchable easily, and the agent can get the guidance instantly, but still different tools. Now what we are doing, we are embedding directly into their main portal. So whenever they need to answer the question, they can see the data directly in the portal. They can see how to handle it with suggested articles. They don't need to find it, and they can just work what they are doing. So they don't need to do unimportant works. So yeah, basically, how do we provide single touch point for our agent so that they can work faster and better? Now, let's put it into one together. Yeah, I mean, like seamless experience between the customer, system, and agent. So if you see the screen, basically when you're chatting, you will be provided with a bot first. But if you need to talk to the agent, basically the bot answer can be automated. And then if you don't satisfy and you want to connect with our agent, you can do it, but it will be a seamless experience. So you can just like continue the chat. Probably you will not know whether it's agent or a bot, but we have a identifier. And on agent side, it's kind of a real-time experience also. So they can see what agent see, what user see. So it can be easier for them to handle. So this is like stitching them all together from deflection, the automation, and then the agent handling, everything in one place. And then after all of the ticket handling, what we want to do is to prevent. This is similar story with the automation, if you remember. Whenever a user is asking about the receipt of the history order. Now, if you check Gojek app, maybe even better right now, yeah. When you go to the historical order, you can download directly without going through the email to your phone. What is your receipt, and yeah, download bill basically. Yeah. You can do it by yourself. You don't need to request. So this is like previously not a feature, but after we learn from the support ticket, we should build this feature. After this happened, there's no ticket asking about the historical order receipt again. So this is like a prevention. Because if we automate it previously, it will still create ticket but doesn't come to the agent, right? But by having this, no ticket at all. No need to create a ticket. And we are empowering our users to solve their issue by themselves, which is faster and not time consuming for our user. Now, what can we take about those kind of implementation, right? So this is what we have achieved by doing all the things. We can do the cost saving from customer service. If you know, customer service is very difficult to be a business unit that get the money. Usually, the one who improve contributing the revenue of the company is from the sales side, from the uh, end user product side. But for customer service, it's very difficult unless you have a very good customer service like a BCA, when it can do the upselling when you're complaining. So if you're doing a complaint, they can do upsell. Hey, can you maybe you want to subscribe to this service or not, and something like that. So it's very difficult. But we can reduce the cost by doing all the things efficiency to scale. And then 5 of the 10 customer inquiries tickets basically today is handled without agent intervention. And this is empowered by the machine learning that we have, learning from historical data, ticket data, and we create the automation, and then it doesn't need go to the agent at all. And by doing this, we still maintain 8 of 10 customer that we have is satisfied with the customer service. Basically, it doesn't lower the standard of quality. So 80% or 8 from the 10 customer is basically already good for the tech industry. Because if you see in the research, every different company will have different kind of standard of the CSAT survey. So yeah, this is already good enough for us, but we still want to improve this. Probably if we can have no agent at all for customer service, probably it will become a like a very big things, yeah, in the future. Now, to summarize, this is what I have explained earlier. The first one, in customer service, you need to categorize the ticket to be able to learn about it. And then after that, when you know the pattern, you can create the self-help article, you can create a chat bot guidance to manage the user, to guide the user to not create a ticket and solve their problem in the first place. And then if we need to create ticket, let's try to automate it by using the previous pattern that we have. If it's a repetitive ticket, repetitive step to handle, let's automate it. And we don't need to have the ticket go to our agent. And then if the ticket is still coming to our agent, we need to ensure how they can handle it better by simplifying their portal, make it everything available for them to handle. So it will provide the best experience to the customer. And after all of this happen, how do we prevent it in the first place? Therefore, we can reduce the ticket creation, and we can still manage our customer service team doesn't grow double following the ticket volume. So yeah, that's the objective of efficiency with scalability. And based on the improvement that we did, right? Technology does help us a lot, yeah, especially in customer service where it involves people, involves business process, complex business process. And what we did is basically to learn from the data, put it in our machine learning, and then doing the automation and monitor it with the metrics to ensure our standard or quality is not reduced also. Because
Sorry, I think Mr. Arnanto, are you here?
okay, I think I got dropped off, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Where was I? I think I was explaining about this. Yeah, basically what I told earlier, technology does help us a lot, yeah. Because in customer service area, you need to involve more people to solve your problem. Without technology, you need to add more people to make sure your business is running. But with technology, you can learn from the data that already you already have. You can learn the pattern. You can put it in machine learning. You can do automation to achieve the efficiency. And to ensure it's scalable, you need to make sure the system or technology is helping you to do it correctly. That's why you need to measure by using the metrics whenever the ticket or process is being handled 100% by system. You need to ensure the quality or standard is not reduced. That's why it still need improvement until we can achieve like fully automated ticket handling in the future. So that's probably become the next vision of Gojek. And yeah, I think yeah, there is one more thing that I want to explain because we are talking about automating the system, automating the process. We are involving big data from the customer, and we have to be responsible of the technology that we build, especially when it involves the customer information. So I want to also explain about the professionalism in work. As you may know, probably if you will work in a company or building a company later on or business, you need to ensure you have ethics in communication. So how do you communicate with the other team? For example, in my use case, whenever we have a ticket handled, we want to propose to the product team to other team to build a feature, right? For example, the one that you saw earlier, when user can download the receipt by themselves. It's a feature. Previously, it was not there. But yeah, we need to communicate properly because other team also has their own prioritization. Therefore, we need to bring the data. We need to give them reasoning, justification to be able to handle that, achieve that kind of result. And also when you're doing it, and especially for students, right? When you start to apply for what is it called, a scholarship, apply to the company, pitching to the investor for your startup, for example, ensure your communication is like if it's written, it's written properly with the greetings and stuff. And then when you are taking a phone also, you need to be clear in the communication by explaining who you are. Even in the college also, right? When you are having a communication with your lecturer, yeah, you need to do this also. You can learn from in the college. And then there will be conflict also, on how to handle it professionally. It means you don't need to be like it's something like no hard feelings. So you don't take it for yourself. It's all about work. It's professional. So if there's conflict, it's not usually a personal things, but it's more about how to achieve the same objective, yeah. To grow a company, to grow a business, for example. And then you need to know your responsibility and the disciplines. Basically, if you are taking roles in, for example, on me, about the customer service area, I need to understand what is my responsibility. How do I take my roles to not take cover other people work, and also I don't miss my responsibility to help the customer service team, and I don't work to other things that is not related to customer service, right? Because it's beyond my responsibilities. So we need to ensure that. And also about the time management, this is very important. So what I can share about this, basically, when you are having more things to do, you can try to prioritize, and everything related to work is basically uh, being not monitored, but being weighted by the stakeholder that you handle. For example, the business was asking, I want the feature for customer to be able to download the receipt directly. And what you need to communicate is basically you need to give them a expectation like, oh, this will require uh, how many effort that you take, and how many time, how long does it take to build it, and then you communicate it properly. And it it will be like a promise from you to the other teams. Therefore, you need to ensure you need to manage your time properly. In simplest way, I can say you need to over deliver and under promise. You just don't over promise, under deliver every time. So always give buffer when you are giving expectation to the others. And then this is the very important, especially the one that I'm talking about throughout the slides, basically about data confidentiality. As you know, Indonesia is kind of open source country where your data is being leaked everywhere. It's just a joke, yeah. But yeah, basically when you're handling something like customer service area, customer may contact you and give you information, even confidential information, and it's written in the ticket, right? For example, you are asking about your GoPay is not being you're withdrawing your GoPay, but you didn't get the money. Customer service will ask you to validate the request. Like, for example, provide your KTP, provide your last two orders, for example, to validate the request. And those kind of data that is submit, right, it's kind of confidential. So as a professional, you need to ensure those kind of data is being treated properly, especially when you are doing the machine learning and something like AI, because you will provide all data to the system, and if it doesn't get controlled properly, it will be uh, difficult. Yeah. For example, another example, when you're using ChatGPT, right? It's basically you don't know where your data is being stored and being processed. So if you put your confidential information there, it will be there. I mean, no one can ensure the data is safe. So yeah, it's just be careful of that. And in our side, when doing something like automations and to ensure the system know the correct user to handle correct information provided, we need to test that. I mean, in AI or machine learning, you need to kind of doing the assisted automation first in the first place, yeah. You cannot just go automation and leave it. And then we are working with there is a business unit in the Gojek about handling about the security related, and we are consulting with them about doing something like this. So you cannot just get the data and do it by yourself. You cannot do that. So you need to work in particular teams that more understand about the impact and the importance of the sensitive data or information. So yeah, this is like some additional things that you need to take. And then yeah, let's go Q&A.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. An. It's very interesting talk. We can see how technology journey for Gojek. I know Gojek when after the then part, I think. So it was interesting to know the initial part of Gojek and how it changed to become the Gojek now. Okay, so friends, if you have some question, if you want to ask a question directly, you can raise your hand.
Yeah, I think there's a questions in the chat. Maybe we
Yeah.
can take that first.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions in the chat box as well. So the first one from Hilmi Datu Alam. The next goal of Gojek is fully automating of the customer service. What is the main problem of achieving this? Is it not enough data or AI just haven't got there yet?
All right. Yeah, shall I just answer the first one?
Yes, please.
Okay, good question, Helmi. So basically, why Gojek doesn't do it today, right? Why not today? There are some other challenges that we have when doing the automation. Basically the one that I mentioned earlier, when we want to go fully automated without assisted by the human, we need to ensure we already have that kind of level of confidence. So when you do automation or machine learning, there will be a confidence level. If you're training your data, there is a confidence level like 99% and stuff. And you want to ensure that is achieved first. And then you are rolling out to more use cases. Why Gojek today only automated like 40% of the tickets or 50%? Basically, there are some cases that is difficult to be automated. So let me tell you the story about the difficult ticket to handle. For example, Gojek is having an accident, but the reporter about the accident is not from Gojek, not from the customer, not from the driver, but from other people watching it. They call the Gojek call center and reported your driver has been an accident. In that case, it needs a human to check, to validate, to analyze. We cannot give to the system or AI yet for that kind of use case. And another use case I can say about the harassment. For example, Gojek harass you, or hopefully not, Gojek driver, and or even the customer itself harass a Gojek driver. In order to prove who is wrong or right, or if it just valid report or not, we cannot rely on the AI today. Therefore, that kind of a problem that we can go through 100% fully automated today. So yeah, so it's not about the enough data, but more complexity. Yeah, it's kind of difficult. All right.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, the next one from Muhammad Agung Gustiansyah. Currently, Gojek has become one of the large companies that provides transportation services. We can order these services online via our device. It actually makes it easier for people to meet their needs. But isn't the presence of Gojek will threaten the conventional ojek? We also often see them doing demo related stopping Gojek operations. How does Gojek respond to this? What solutions does Gojek provide to ensure that no party feels disadvantaged?
Okay, but I think this is not a problem today already. This is already solved back then. I think 3 years back or 4 years back. If you remember about Bluebird Driver is doing a demo about online go-kart when go-kart has launched. And yeah, basically we have a team that handles something like this. Yeah. What we are doing to prevent in the future, basically there is a team dedicated in Gojek to have a community with the driver. So we kind of like ambassador of the driver, like the best driver that we have. We invite them to we can say kopdar. Kopdar is like a gathering, regular gathering, and then we encourage them as an ambassador to be able to explain to the community. So they have a community. The driver is always have a community, and by doing that, it's like you are going down to earth, looking at the floor at the bottom, understand what driver wants, and by doing that, actually the driver itself, the community leader, the ambassador, is actually helping us to explain. Therefore, if there is people like, hey, Gojek doesn't do something right, this ambassador can help us. They can defend us without us asking them. So it's kind of the good relationship with our partner basically. And if you see also, yeah, the recent situation about e-commerce things, TikTok Shop is being banned because of something similar. They have they found a way to how the user can sell directly to the user easily without browsing and stuff, right? And that kind of things, I mean, should be regulated. I agree. But if you embrace the new things, probably everything will be adapt to it in the future. So therefore, today, in object related, it's kind of part of usual things or regular things when you need object or transportation. You can just book from your app. It becomes a regular basis than earlier days. So there will be like time where needs to adapt to the kind of change. Yeah, probably it helped to answer.
Anyway, new technology always have this kind of problem as well, right? Social problem. Okay, the next question is from Marcel. The Gojek application is very developed in today's world. Is Gojek able to keep up with more world progress and also the superiority of Gojek compared to other applications beside Gojek which have the same function?
Good question also from, who is it? Marcel.
Marcel.
Yeah. So if you talk about the unique selling points, right? If you have a business, what is your USP, unique selling points that kind of differentiate to other similar business? I don't know why, but in Gojek, let's say, last 2 years, there will be a price war between competitors. Even Uber, when Uber here, and Grab also join the same business, there will be a price war where you can take a Gojek for like 5,000 rupiah back then. But when it becomes difficult today, like tech winter, I can say, no one can give that big amount of subsidized or voucher to you again, right? That's why it become expensive. But what is interesting here, let's say, if all Gojek online transportation app is being fair, yeah. For example, the price will be the same. I don't know why people is choosing Gojek, because Indonesian people, I can say, it's not that loyal if related to price or budget. If you have the discount or budget, you will go there, right? You don't want to take the expensive one. But the interesting point, if we have the same price at the same moment, people tend to just Gojek. I don't know because it's branding of a local company or Indonesia leaders. I don't know, but it happens. And the question is how to keep up with the forward progress. Yeah, Gojek has after IPO, Gojek already have the foundation and also the ESG sustainability. Basically, there is a vision in 2030, Gojek will reach to 3 zeros. So basically zero carbon and other things. I don't remember, but yeah, that's the other big company is doing. So they don't only build a product and solving a problem, no, but also to give more impact to other areas also. It's kind of responsibility of a big company also. Yeah, hopefully that answers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
And
you
we
for
have one question, one person that raised his hand. Please, and Aswin, you can unmute yourself.
good afternoon, Mr. Aan. Mas
Hello,
Win, I just want to ask, I don't know if this question related to the material that you provide, but I just curious. Currently, Gojek still relies on human power, right? Such
Yeah.
as driver. But as we know, technology is currently developing very rapid, and we have seen many autonomous vehicle, right? Like Tesla and many factory, which I think that can replace the role of the driver. Does Gojek already have its site set on going there? In fact, so far, Gojek can really help lower middle class people by giving them job, and could the autonomous that be a threat to Gojek?
Okay, good question, Aswin. About that, I think when Gojek is built by Nadim, right? He was explaining about how to make a social impact. So that's the very basic idea of Gojek. How do we make social impact at scale? So if you ask about how do we ensure the current partner, like the human, the driver, merchant, is being replaced or not, I would say it will not happen, at least because what we are doing, if we want to automate with the autonomous vehicle, something like that, what we are doing is more about the logistic process. So you know that Gojek already joined forces with Tokopedia. They have a warehouse, that kind of warehouse that we automate with. If you know the Amazon things, they have the fully autonomous in the warehouse, right? That kind of things that probably being focused on instead of the key partners that become the Gojek vision in the first place to build a social impact. So I don't think it will happen. And also in Indonesia itself, I don't see any in the short term like fully autonomous car or bike will happen because the road itself is kind of different with the other countries. And also in Indonesia, the culture, like the people, they like to meet each other. They want to, even we automate the ticket, they want to still talk with the human to get the answer. So yeah, I think kind of different situation with other countries.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay. Next question in the chat box from Naufal. Excuse me, sir. I want to ask to you, as far as your experience goes, what valuable lessons or biggest challenges outside the technicalities have you experienced, and how do you overcome these challenges, especially in the rank of managers like you?
All right, good question, Noval. Thank you. So biggest challenge outside of technicalities. Okay, so many actually. So if you put aside the tech, right, the technology, you are working with people today, and when you deal with the people, you need to have a compromise. with them. So for example, the basic challenge in every, I think product manager at least, the stakeholder management, that's one of the thing, communication, and then the prioritization. That's very difficult. For example, you as a PM, you have like 10 engineers, for example, to work on your product. But your team is not only you, right? You have other teams is doing other things also. And you need to work with them. For example, the one I mentioned about enabling feature for user to download their receipt from the app, we are asking different team. So the challenge on that is basically how do we influence? How can we convince them? Hey, this is a very important things. If we did this, then we can achieve this impact. And then you are asking other teams to do it, right? Not you doing it. That's kind of difficult. And usually the challenge is more about the resource. You have the same resource, but more tasks or people asking with the same priority or deadlines. Kind of happening in every product managers or a business that I can see, and how to overcome it, right? There are so many what is it, the rule, not rules, the playbook of it. You can just follow the playbook if you want, but from the experience I can say to handle it, especially in Indonesia, right? When you are dealing with people from Indonesia, it's kind of different, because if you work with the Singapore people, with India, you can be straightforward to them. Hey, I want this. This is the data. This is impactful. Please help me. You can just do it. But for Indonesia people, it's kind of unique because probably you want to what is it? Basa-basi. That's our things. When you meet the person, when you want to ask them for something, maybe you can go for a coffee with them and talk to them. Usually, like building relationship, like social capital, it's more important. So that's how we can overcome the challenge. So whenever you need them or they need you, it's kind of very basic things that like a friend to ask, hey, please help me do it. It's easier. But please ensure you still have the data that back you up, yeah, for influencing them, like convincing them. So yeah, that's how to overcome those kind of challenges. And remember, if you are having prioritization, just under promise and over deliver. The example here is, let's say I ask you to finish your thesis. You can say just okay, 1 week, and then you complete it by 1 month. It's over promise, under deliver. But if you under promise, over deliver, you can just say, oh, it will be my 1 month from now, but in 1 week you already completed. So yeah, something like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question from Arif Muhammad Usri. So he asks about how you can adapt with work culture that exists in a company.
Okay, interesting. Thanks, Arif. How to adapt with the culture, company culture. I think this is also can be learned from the students, yeah, college students before they are applying for a job. So you need before you make sure, oh, I want this job, you need to learn what is the company about. You need to know what is their value. It's already in the website usually. So you need to know, understand what they did and what their vision. And possibly it will be matched with your personal interest or vision or not. So I will share personally from me, yeah. I don't really like how bank is works, yeah. But that's why I'm not applying to the bank, because the culture and the stuff that they did. This is personal preference. But when I see, I will not fit in their culture. They are using formal attire, right? And being using a tie and the specific shoe, right? I don't want to work on that kind of culture. So I'm not choosing it. But if you're already there, you're already applying the company and you just understand, oh, this is how the company's culture looks like, then you need to adapt. And how to adapt to it is basically you can find what is it? A people or person, your peers or friends in the office basically, and just be friends with them and understand what they think about the situation. Because in company culture is kind of tricky. It can be a toxic culture in some companies. For example, when there are companies doing the layoff improperly, right? When they just cut without the announcement and stuff, it's kind of wrong, right? That's the culture that we want to avoid. And in this case, when you identify something like that, you can just decide by yourself if you want to, you can take it or you can just leave. So how to adapt is basically you need to feel it and get your friends there and see if you feel the same way. So to avoid ensure before you applying or doing something, you need to understand what is the company about, what is their value and vision. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers. The next question from Ahmad Qadir. At the beginning of the seminar, it is mentioned that Gojek once pursued the business model of being a super app. What are the reasons behind the change of the business model to what it is now? Also, is there a change that Gojek will pursue back the super app business model, considering it is now merged with Tokopedia, providing an even larger database?
Okay, good question, Ahmad. I think about the super app things, yeah. It's kind of buzzword in the 2 years back, yeah. Whenever I think Traveloka doing the same thing, Grab doing the same thing, and also Gojek, right? The idea here is basically how we can build, we can provide anything in one app, in single app, and then it can works each other. For example, you can use GoPay to pay for GoRide, and you can use GoPay to pay for e-commerce things. But after looking at the situation, right, the economic macroeconomic also, we can see some kind of business doesn't get any enough or good traction and stuff. That's how I think some of the feature that you saw in Gojek earlier is being uh, shut down. Yeah. For example, Go Live. Because if you think right about, we can take example of Go Live. If you want to provide a service where people need to clean your house and you pay for it, I think it doesn't need an app at all, because if you book from your app and next time you already know the person, you can just tell him to come, right? So it doesn't really work that way. It's kind of different from ride hailing or transportation, where you don't need to know who is the person. Whenever I can take a bike or a car. So it's kind of different. But if you talk about Go Live, when you know about people is already doing good, you want to use that people. I mean, like rebook booking that the same person, right? So yeah, that's kind of an example why it's not become super app anymore.
Okay, next from Muhammad Nabil. In your experience developing customer service ticket systems, what stands out as the most challenging obstacles when trying to scale the customer service ticketing system?
All right, good question, Nabil. How to scale the system? Yeah. The stands out and the most challenging obstacle is basically the use cases. So, for example, I'm handling a ticketing system for Indonesia, Singapore, and Vietnam, right? In Indonesia, if we have achieved like 50% of automated tickets, when we want to extend to Singapore and Vietnam, it's kind of different use case, different behavior, basically. So if I can give example of it, in Indonesia, there are tickets about driver asking for orders. Hey, I didn't get order. How do I get order? Something like that. It's being handled and it's some of it is automated, right? But in Singapore, it's kind of different situation. So the driver itself doesn't create ticket like that. I mean, like, hey, where is my order? No, but they're doing differently. Therefore, when we want to automate the same thing, actually their intention is different. This is where we cannot scale the same use cases. It needs to be treated differently from automation that is succeed in Indonesia. We cannot just bring it to other countries. So we need to revisit and treat it as a different kind of use case. Probably that's the most challenging obstacle, yeah. Aside from the what is it? The architecture behind it, like the ticket structure and data. Yeah.
Okay. Next question from Jayana. If the next goal of Gojek is fully automated customer service, is there any chance of customer that will get confused because maybe if the customer do not use the correct prompt to get the perfect solution they need, they will repeat the same thing to get until they get a correct answer?
Yeah, good question, Citra. So I think this one related to how we can ensure the AI or system can do it, the automated process, right? As I can say earlier, basically we need to have the confidence level of the system. So if something like this happen, whenever the user wants to ask the things, but they don't get the answer, the proper answer or solution, that is the confidence level or metrics that we monitor or measure doesn't work well, right? In this case, if this still happen, we cannot go fully automation there. We need to have at least partial automation whenever some of the process is already handled by system, and the rest of the process will be handled by agent manually until we can get the confidence level to the specific threshold. So yeah, hopefully that answers.
Okay. Next question from Shafiq. In 2022, Gojek must fired 1,000 of worker. Is it true? And if it's true, does it affect the overall Gojek company performance?
Okay, good question, Safik. Yes, that's true. You can see in the news also, or even you can see the quarter earnings report. It's publicly available in GoTo website today. And also for Q3 earning reports will be out in the day after tomorrow, 30. Monday, sorry, on Monday. So if you want to see the massive layoff and the performance, you can check there if you can see the balance sheet and stuff. Yeah, but in short, basically it doesn't affect company performance, but actually it help us to go to the profitability level that we want. So that's what I can say, yeah, for the impact.
Okay. Next from Holly Fatur. Most of company right now change from agent into chatbot on CS service. In your opinion, what is the best chatbot available and why it is being the best?
Interesting question, Rauf. The best chatbot, I don't know, yeah, because we cannot compare, and how do we decide who is better than who? So probably for customer service related, the chatbot here, this is a new thing, yeah, on customer service especially. We don't know which one is doing better than the others. But what I can say, probably we can just explore what is available there. I think there are some kind of ChatGPT, right? And Llama and Meta is using different things. So we don't know who is best in doing the chatbot today. But probably, what if you ask me personally, what I can say, ChatGPT 4 is already leading today.
Okay. Next question from Sabita. What should a newborn tech or application startup or business do to have a great customer service system? What should they pay attention to? Since a newborn startup or business has only few employees, but perhaps has a lot of new issues experienced by customers.
Okay. Wait, give me 1 minute. Yeah, interesting question from Bayu. So how do we prepare or build great customer service system? Easiest way, you need to capture as many as data as possible, especially related to your defect. I mean, for example, you have a product or a business, right? You don't know what to do. Is it your product good or not? Who can validate that is basically your user. You have a user, you can just ask them, or even you can wait for them to raise a ticket or complain to you. And by the time you receive that, it's a very valuable information that you can use to build your customer service system. That's why in the beginning of help center page in Gojek is basically capturing anything what user wants. We don't know the pattern yet, so capturing the data and then we analyze it manually, categorize it, and we will see what kind of improvement that we need to do. And from that you can know how many people is asking the same thing or complaining about the same thing. From there you can also take action to improve your product so they don't create any tickets. So yeah, hopefully that answer.
Okay, next from Aziza Salma. She wants to ask about ticketing system. So if we as a new startup don't have enough employee, is it a good idea to limit the service time for the ticketing system?
Limit the service time, probably what you mean here is about the giving the long SLA, yeah, like service level, because you have limited people to handle. Good question, yeah, Salma. I think if you start a small business, the ticket is not that much unless you're doing a poor service. But let's say that happens. What you need to do, probably you will set up some expectation. So for example, if you have an online shop, for example, you have 1,000 orders per day, and you have a defect or issue like 1% of it. When you handle it, probably the current available system we have can help you to do this. So the first one, you may want to set up the auto reply. This is not fancy automation, but just set up auto reply. And then the one that most important in auto reply is the information that you given. So you need to give exact information. Hey, we are having a high request or backlog. We need some time to handle. Please be patient, and you need to set up your SLA, because when you are talking about customer service, you need to set up the assurance. You need to ensure your user customer is being handled. So just don't ghosting the user, basically. You can have the long service time as long as you can give assurance to them. So just pay attention to the information you provide to them.
Okay, next question from Fernando Agusti. What is Gojek's strategy to consistently become a big startup to date? How to manage the initial capital?
Gojek strategy consistently become a big startup. Probably this is from Nadim's era, yeah. So yeah, Agusti, maybe what I can answer about this is more on from the culture of Gojek, how they can do it until today. They have good culture, I can say, like values of the company. So let's say you have organization, right? You have a vision and mission. But I think the other important things is you need to introduce not the culture, the values. For example, you have organization, your value is, for example, what is it? Embrace the small wins. Any small wins you can embrace, something like that. It's very important in organization. So what I can mention from Gojek, there is one particular value in the company that say is not about you. That's one of the Gojek value. So whenever you think about that value when you are working, right? When you remember, oh, it's not about you. So you can manage the work with other teams, and the other teams also have the similar value, right? Applying the same value, it becomes like self-organized of the team. Therefore, I can say what makes Gojek big, their value is very good.
Okay, I hope that answers. Next, from Putu Arjuna. My question is more about the process of handling user complaints, especially when the complaint is false or when the issue has been resolved between the user and the driver. However, the user is unable to report this resolution. I have experienced this situation during an issue with a GoFood driver that this can particularly impact the performance review of the driver.
Okay, so basically this is misreported of the driver, and we cannot clarify or confirm if the driver didn't make a mistake, right? I think this happened, and we know, actually we have the data. The other similar use case on this, basically if you order GoRide, your driver accidentally completing directly your order before they arrive to pick you up. Usually you get upset and complain, right? Hey, my driver is not picking me up, and you give 1-star rating. And then in 5 minutes, actually the driver come to you and say sorry. Hey, I just click complete accidentally, but I will pick you up now. Now you need to clarify that, right? So in that case, we have a pattern, yeah. Whenever there's a report, and then there is another similar report clarifying. But just in case the clarification didn't come to us, actually the driver will get impacted, probably suspended, for example, temporarily. But the driver can follow the appeal process from the app directly. The appeal process is basically asking, hey, I'm not doing it. This is the proof and something like that. And what our agent is doing also when driver is appealing to us, doing the appeal, the agent needs to clarify whether this driver is wrong or not. Basically, what agent can do, they can also doing the outbound call to the customer to verify, hey, is this driver doing the good thing to you or not? And then from there, the suspension will be released. So we already have that kind of process, so don't worry.
Okay, since the time is almost over, I think I will only choose two more questions. So the first one is from Nicholas. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for the insightful presentation. I want to ask regarding data protection. How Gojek ensures the protection of customer data, maybe the standard of the procedure or the practices? And also I want to ask how Gojek retain the sustainability of the company by how does Gojek track the strategies for development so that it is still relevant until today?
All right, good question, Nicholas. Yeah, about data protection. Okay, so in Gojek level, when even before IPO, there will be external audit happening, and then also doing the certification like ISO and stuff. And at Gojek also we have a team dedicatedly to handle. Even the team name is having data protection in it. So we already have that kind of flow and process in place. And how we can ensure, basically the current process is, I think, very rigid at Gojek. So you cannot just launch a product or process by yourself without their sign off, at least. And then whenever you are doing product launches, feature, or new processes, whenever they see they capture some risk on the data, they can find out and ask you to update it. So they can just stop your service or even until you can fix it. And then I think every year there is external audit happening, and that's kind of the procedure and practice that for data protection. And also, I think if you check in Gojek website, I don't know, there is a bug bounty also, So if you kind of a hacker, there is a bug bounty whenever you can get a money by detecting there is a defect in the product or service, and you report it, and you can provide the evidence or probably can suggest a fix, you can get the money for it. So that's kind of another process that I think most of the tech company have it. And the second question about track the strategies for development until still relevant. Okay, so about this, I think if we plan for next feature product or anything that we want to do is basically we also require data and the market research at least. So to be able to be relevant until today, we have a research team in Gojek dedicatedly to handle something like providing the what is next, right? For example, in the next 5 years, probably the Gen Z will take over, like they start working and then using product. So we analyze and research about what about the culture, what it will be looks like in the future, something like that before we decide how to do what to build and what to provide. So that kind of process or strategy that we have to ensure Gojek will stay relevant until later.
Okay, so our last question, I think this is question from a lot of students here. I would like to ask about the recruitment of Gojek employees. Can fresh graduates work there or employees who already have at least 2 years or more work experience? Because now many companies do not accept fresh graduate employees. And the second question is whether Gojek offers internship.
Okay, good question, Charlie. Actually, this is the best time. So now fresh graduate or 2 years experience is open, the position. So if you check, go to company website or Gojek website or Tokopedia website, you will be able to see there is a vacancy. And I think there is also a program about campus ambassador or staff. Probably you can get that information also in Gojek website. For internship, also there is many opportunity also, you can check. I don't know if in the campus have some kind of partnership with the Gojek, but usually it will have like a job fair or something in the campus. But I don't know in Telkom today. But for sure you can check the website. And for opportunity for fresh graduates, 2 years experience and internship, it's available.
Okay, so I think that's all for today. Thank you very much, Mr. An, for your talk. It's really a great talk. Do you have any final comment to give to our students?
I think thank you for the opportunity, especially for the campus alumni endowment for inviting me also. This is a very good time also. And for the student in the Telkom, please be always keeping up with the technology updates, and possibly if you want to explore by yourself, because in campus maybe you can get only the textbook, but in reality in the workplace you will need to explore by yourself what is happening. You have to try it, especially in technology. You need to basically doing exploration what is happening now.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. An. Maybe we should take a picture first before we end our session. Okay, please,
Sure.
friends, you can open your camera again. I will take the first slides picture. 1, 2, 3. And the next one. Okay. Thank you very much again, Mr. Aan, and also friends who are coming to our general lecture today. I hope it will be very useful for you. For ICT Global Insight students, we will see you again next week. And for Mr. An, thank you again, and hope you always successful. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.